And it's only once you get a glimpse of it do you realize that this oneness with yourself and that which is around you, with what's real, is far more beautiful than anything you could have possibly imagined in that previous illusory world. For the first time in your life, you feel like you kind of have control. You don't need that boy or girl you've been crushing on, or that eye-banking job, or that acceptance letter from law school to make you feel meaningful, or happy, or alive. You don't feel like you need to hide stuff from people. And most important of all, you feel, maybe for the first time in your life, like you can truly love people without expecting things from them. I mention leadership because while I think there are many versions of being a leader, there is, as far as I can tell, only one way to become a leader. And it comes with this process of learning to examine yourself, and learning to willingly criticize yourself, and ultimately learning to lead yourself. That only by learning to lead you, your army of one, can you really begin to spread beauty and light to others. I don't want to make this process seem lame or boring, because it's not. I'm reminded of what Terry Gilliam, the longtime member of Monty Python, said in the documentary about George Harrison and the Beatles. Far from mere caricatures, the reason why Monty Python and the Beatles were such successful performers, and more importantly, such successful artists, he said, is because they were having fun. They were entertaining themselves, and they weren't really thinking about the audience. This, it seems to me, is a candid and essential insight when it comes to life and leadership. That what you need to get really good at before anything else is self-entertainment, which, although trivial sounding, is really the deepest and holiest form of connection you can have with yourself. If you can't self-entertain, and if you serve through life performing for others instead of yourself, you're going to be screwed. I address perception as a subject because of how important it is. Because I think we oftentimes do a bad job at keeping reality and truth in the fronts of our minds. The reality of death, for instance. Just 72 hours ago, I was a part of what could have been a fatal car accident coming back from San Diego. Pretty weird. Beach and friends and sun and terrifying car crash all in one past memory. Everyone was and is fine, but the incident really did remind me of how we naturally and inevitably tend to mask realities which seem brutal, but nonetheless realities which we need to understand and remind ourselves of in order to find meaning and joy. And maybe this fear of reality goes back to the fear of ourselves, and of struggling to come to terms with who we really are. And how sometimes, frankly, we shortchange ourselves. I mean, if only Blagojevich followed his passion for journalism, right? Or if Madoff became a Shakespearean actor. Or Kenneth Lay a zoologist. I'm joking, of course, and I'm not trying to play the pointless role of Captain Hindsight. But I sometimes wonder whether these people who go into lines of work CMCers notably go into would have steered clear of infamy if they had known themselves a little better. If they slowed down and took more time to learn to be kinder, and funnier, and stronger, and happier, and greater than, in this case, the misleading and futile greatness that the title of governor or CEO or hedge fund manager gave them. And yet I'm convinced that CMC has helped us begin this journey of self-discovery. Because here at CMC, we've spent 4 years studying economics and politics and literature and bio and other socially relevant disciplines. And yet we've also been given time to study our home topography, to borrow a phrase from Thoreau. And let me be clear, this process of learning and discovering is so far from over. I do feel sort of wiser than I did when I first arrived here, but I also know that the process has only just begun, as I have so much left to learn and see. And at the end of the day, I'll learn, like many before me, that the world is too big for any of us to wrap our arms around, and that whether I like it or not, I'll always live in a state of partial ambiguity. And yet partial is a key word, because it's going to be up to us how partial we want that ambiguity to be. Because if we all dedicate parts of our lives to thinking and seeing and criticizing ourselves and learning to put ideas together, then sure, we're not going to learn everything. We're going to learn a lot. I know all you guys are going to do great things in your life. In law, finance, writing, public interest, teaching, raising vegetables, raising children, and in all sorts of other realms. But always be conscious that without this inner feeling that you're doing and being you, and that you're hanging around people that touch your hearts in the best and realest way possible, then you're being less than you can be. And you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be a leader. Thurston Moore, the great guitarist of the band Sonic Youth, calls this feeling of life inside all of us the lighted candle. And while I don't know what that lighted candle is for you, I know it's there. So whatever you do from here on out, make sure your candle is lit, and that it stays lit. Go out into the world and play your part daringly. Play it humorously. Play it skeptically. Play it lovingly. And most important of all, play it truthfully. And if you do these things, you can be the epitome of the liberal arts in action. And you will be a leader. Congratulations to the class of 2014, and thanks.